Good evening and welcome to the regular public meeting of the Halton District School Board. It is Wednesday, October the 6th, 2021. As per all of our board meetings, this meeting is being recorded and will be posted on the hdsb.ca website. Please note that tonight we are using our hybrid meeting model where some of us are in the boardroom and others are attending remotely. As per our bylaws and policies, trustees attending remotely have all the rights and privileges of a board member present in the boardroom. We are trying to use some new technology tonight. It's actually old technology we're reintroducing. So there may be a few hiccups. We're asking everybody, both in the meeting and watching, to be patient. And now I'm going to do a trustee roll call. Please answer as I call your name in alphabetical order by last name. Trustee Amos.
Good evening, everyone.
Trustee Bao.
Good evening.
Trustee Collard.
Good evening.
Trustee Daniele.
Thank you, I am here.
Vice Chair Al Harrison.
Hello.
Trustee Garretts.
Hi, everyone.
Trustee Gray.
Hello.
Trustee Oliver.
Good evening.
Trustee Reynolds.
Hi, everyone.
Trustee Rocha.
Good evening, everyone.
Trustee Shuttleworth.
I'm here.
Trustee Vidyalankara.
Hi, everyone.
Okay, Director Ennis, could you please note the staff that are in attendance this evening?
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. And through the chair, just want to acknowledge in the room with us, we have Associate Director Bogue, and online and joining us remotely, we have all the senior team.
Thank you very much. Trustee Oliver will be honoring the land this evening.
Halton, as we know it today, is rich in history and modern traditions of many First Nations and the Métis. From the Anishinaabe to the Arawanaron, the Haudenosaunee, and the Métis, these lands surrounding the Great Lakes are steeped in Indigenous history. As we gather today on these treaty lands, we have the responsibility to honor and respect the four directions: land, water, plants, animals, ancestors that walked before us, and all the wonderful elements of creation that exist. We would like to acknowledge and thank the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation for sharing their traditional territory with us.
Thank you very much. Are there any declarations of possible conflict of interest? Please use the speaking list. Seeing none. Next, we are up to the agenda. Trustee Amos, would you like to move a motion to approve the agenda this evening?
Yes, I would. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Trustee Shuttleworth, would you like to second the motion?
Of course I would.
Is there any discussion at all on the agenda this evening? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Affirmative, Trustee Gray.
Thank you very much. That carries unanimously. Okay, tonight we are honored to present the Halton District School Board Inspire Awards. Everyone in the Halton District School Board community can nominate or be nominated: families, neighbors, related organizations, staff, students, and school volunteers. The Inspire Award is given to an individual or group that is formally or informally associated with the Halton District School Board who support our students and their achievements through exemplary, caring, initiative, innovation, and creativity. Tonight, we have 19 awards to present. Award nominations were accepted through June and the summer months. Trustee Shuttleworth will be running the presentation this evening, created by Heather Francie in the Communications Department. Before each presentation, I will name the recipients and the name of the trustee presenting. Okay. Okay. The first award goes to Jared Matthews, and this will be presented by Trustee Kelly Amos.
Jared Matthews is a teacher at Montclair Public School. Jared goes beyond teaching curriculum to show students how important it is to show up, how hard work pays off, and how caring for yourself and your work and pushing yourself to do better matters. During remote learning, Jared encouraged students to focus and took the time to really engage with them, listen to them, and find ways to help them learn at home in a successful learning environment. He motivated and encouraged them to wait to succeed and was able to control the class online and gain their attention and interest and genuinely have them want to learn and be involved in an online setting. Parents are grateful for the impact Jared has had on their children. Congratulations, Jared, on inspiring us all.
Congratulations. The next Inspire Award is going to Carrie Tate and will be presented by Trustee Joanna Oliver.
Carrie Tate is a teacher at Bruce T. Lindley Public School. She's nominated for her time at Heritage Glen Public School. Carrie teaches students with various learning styles and needs and ensures each student has what they need to be successful. Students in Carrie's class are always engaged and encouraged to do their best. Recognizing the different challenges students are facing, Carrie takes the time to check in with families to determine how students are coping outside the classroom to try and eliminate additional stressors. Carrie helps build student confidence and encourages them to make friends, help them understand social cues, and inspires them to try new things. Parents thank Carrie for making this past school year manageable and focused on understanding and compassion, which greatly contributed to the well-being of students and their families. Congratulations, Carrie.
Congratulations. The next award is going to Sandy Wilson, and this will also be presented by Trustee Joanna Oliver.
Sandy is a special education resource teacher at Heritage Glen Public School. She assists students with everything from reading, gaining confidence, social skills, sharing, listening, and much more. Sandy's compassionate and understanding and goes above and beyond to support students and their families and provide them with information, skills, and guidance to support their children's well-being and educational journey. Parents are grateful to Sandy for guiding them through the school system, helping them advocate for their child, helping them understand their child's learning needs, and facilitating relationships to support their child. Sandy is an unwavering, constant support for families. Congratulations, Sandy.
Congratulations. The next award is going to Fee Tran, and this will be presented by Vice Chair Al Harrison.
Thank you. Fee is an exceptional ESL teacher at Eastview Public School. She works tirelessly to support her English language learners and classroom teachers while centering all of her work in equity. She supports her students and coworkers by providing differentiated resources and materials. Fee always uses her personal time to create equity resources for her school community and virtual schools and never hesitates to share those resources with others. Fee has passionately advocated and implemented an equity family group at Eastview Public School, which will have a lasting and profoundly positive impact. Thank you so much.
Congratulations. And the next Inspire Award is going to Kristen Collett. And this award will also be presented by Vice Chair Al Harrison.
Thank you. Kristen is a teacher at Tiger Jeet Singh Public School. She's nominated for her role at Abbey Lane Public School. Over the past year and a half, Kristen has really taken an out-of-the-box approach to teaching. With creativity and compassion, she manages the class of grade 1 students with ease and adapting to the needs of all students and their parents. Her students are engaged in full days of learning and are always excited for the next body break. Kristen is skilled at observing and handling sensitive moments when a child is upset, and she's able to support that child while keeping the rest of the class engaged and on task. She does emotional check-ins during attendance that are really fun and age-appropriate. For example, she had many cat faces with all different emotions, and the students had to choose which one they felt like. That sounds really fun. Parents are so grateful for Kristen's dedication to their children's learning and well-being. Thank you so much, Kristen.
Congratulations. The next Inspire Award is going to Lindsay Smith, and this award will be presented by Trustee Kelly Amos.
Lindsay Smith is a teacher at Odenawi Public School. While working as a virtual kindergarten teacher, she still managed to lead the equity team of Odenawi. Her passion in this area is inspiring. She finds meaningful resources to share at staff meetings and is always willing to take time to help her colleagues when asked. She organizes whole school activities to acknowledge Black History Month, Pride Month, and speaks passionately about the school's Indigenous roots. Lindsay strives to meet staff whenever they are on their journey. From choosing different books to representing students all the way to helping unpack and discuss important, sometimes challenging conversations. Lindsay's passion for equity is inspiring. We have all learned so much about what we need to unlearn. Congratulations, Lindsay.
Congratulations. The next Inspire Award is going to Brad Kay, and this will be presented by Trustee Joanna Oliver.
Brad Kay is the head caretaker at West Oak Public School. He has been such a huge support to the life skills class throughout the challenging 2020-21 school year. He greets and supports all of the kids every day, brings smiles to their faces, and engages with them. Brad became part of the walking program in the life skills class as his connection with one of the students was so strong. The student always walked best when Brad was prompting in the hallways, pushing him to keep going and making him laugh. He's always there to support staff whenever they need help. He's truly someone who brings his best every day and puts students first in everything he does. He has been a true inspiration as we navigated a unique year. Brad's positivity, his teamwork, and student-centered approach to his job is something that truly sets him apart.
Congratulations. The next Inspire Award is going to Sarah Semple, and it will be presented by Vice Chair Harrison.
Thank you. Let me tell you about Sarah. She's a volunteer at Palermo Public School. She's been an active member of the school council since the school opened in 2010. She's held every position on the council and has contributed to the school in countless ways, including organizing fun fairs, planning grade 8 graduations, helping with the breakfast program, teacher appreciation luncheons, the good old days, organizing and running the weekly pizza lunch fundraiser, coordinating volunteers, and hosting a newcomers coffee morning once a month. With her youngest in grade 8, this is Sarah's final year at Palermo. Sarah, enjoy this year and beyond, knowing that you've left a wonderful legacy at the school for all staff and students.
Congratulations. The next Inspire Award is going to Jennifer Smolinars, and this will be presented by Trustee Margot Shuttleworth.
Thank you. Jennifer is a teacher at Sir Ernest Macmillan Public School. She is nominated for her time at Virtual School Elementary West. Jennifer drew praises of so many parents having done an outstanding job providing structure and demonstrating dedication and kindness towards her students. Jennifer is known for going above and beyond to help. In one particular example, she took the time to hand-deliver book club books to every student in her virtual class. On top of driving around and making the deliveries, she went even further by creating customized bookmarks with small handwritten notes of encouragement. It was such a lovely gesture that made a wonderful, positive, and inspirational impact on her class. Parents appreciated Jennifer's devotion to her students, inspiring them to succeed during a year of virtual learning. Congratulations, Jennifer.
Congratulations. The next Inspire Award is going to Lori Chochas, And it will be presented by trustee Heather Garretts.
Thank you. It's my honor to present Lori Sotzis with this award. She was a teacher at Irma Colson Public School, retired earlier this year, much to the sadness of so many of the school. Lori is known for encouraging and positively challenging many at Irma Colson. Staff talk about how she works tirelessly, leading various student sessions and clubs while creating a safe space for everyone. With a passion for equity and social justice, Lori has inspired students, staff, and families to really make a difference. Her commitment to students is heartwarming, such as supporting at-risk students through daily check-ins. Lori's passion for student voice and skillfully connects with all students. She has touched so many lives, and the administration, staff, and families at Irma Colson want her to know that she inspired them each and every day. Way to go. Thank you.
Congratulations. The next Inspire Award is going to Dennis Atalan, who is at Viola Desmond Public School, and will be presented again by trustee Heather Garretts.
Thank you. As a caretaker at Viola Desmond Public School, Dennis supports staff and students every day with a friendly smile and warm hello. Called Mr. Dennis by students, he's known for saying, "It's all about the kids, and we all need to support them the best way we can." He was a key factor in helping prepare Viola Desmond for its official opening in 2019. Throughout the pandemic, Dennis has worked diligently to sanitize surfaces and has built basketball nets for students and even supports them in the games with encouraging words. Viola Desmond encourages students to stand up and have a voice, and Mr. Dennis ensures that all the students he engages with have that feeling and support. Desmond rocks because of Dennis. Thank you so much.
Congratulations. The next Inspire Award is going to Mackenzie Smith Bennett Life Skills Staff, ME-4JI. And that team is comprised of Cynthia Dorkin, Kennedy Eves, Margarita Lavalle, Sherry Payton, and Anila Zara. And this will be presented by trustee Jean Gray.
Good evening. Thank you. The Mackenzie Smith Bennett Public School Life Skills team includes educational assistants, just as our chair has just noted, Cynthia Dorkin, Sherry Patton, Anila Zara, Kennedy Eves, and teacher Margarita Lavalle. This group makes up an incredible group of educators, going above and beyond seemingly every day. Their passion for students in their class is undeniable. They make their students feel like they can achieve anything. They have focused not only on students' academic, but social needs too. Despite the challenges of delivering programming during the pandemic, this group of educators still found ways to create new and exciting activities to engage their students. From the bottom of our hearts, we say thank you to every member of this wonderful team. Thank you.
Congratulations and thank you. The next Inspire Award will be going to Sarah Rogers, and it will be presented by trustee Margot Shuttleworth.
Thank you. As Ryerson faced challenges as a result of the pandemic, teachers have responded to help students persevere through these difficult times. Sarah Rogers is one of those teachers at Ryerson Public School. Sarah has been very attentive to these challenges and provided many supports and resources to help students succeed. Despite her busy days, she provided one-on-one support, learned about personal struggles students were experiencing, and helped them navigate these, including finding different avenues to express themselves. Ensuring her students' mental health and well-being was a top priority and very much appreciated by families. Sarah has been a guiding light for families, and the skills she has taught her students, along with the way, will benefit them in years to come. Thank you so much, Sarah.
Congratulations. The next Inspire Award will be going to Karen McDonald, and it will be presented by trustee Jean Gray.
Thank you. Karen McDonald, a teacher at Silver Creek Public School, always puts her student success and well-being first. An organized educator who possesses a huge heart, Karen looks for and draws out the best in her students and is dedicated to proper planning and preparing lessons and loving to collaborate with her colleagues. She is a clear and consistent communicator with her families and students. A funny and energetic teacher, she feels it's important for students to understand their role in the classroom and take responsibility for their learning. She provides ongoing feedback to her students and families so that they are always aware of their learning strengths and next steps for improvement. Karen makes personal connections with each student and remembers important aspects of their lives. This helps build a community based on inclusivity and belonging. Karen is supportive and patient and helps students review learning if they feel they need a bit more time to comprehend a lesson. Inspiring colleagues with her approach to teaching, Karen is well respected by her peers who say she is a joy to be around. Congratulations, Karen.
Congratulations. And I am honored to be presenting the next award, and that is going to Meg Carey. Meg Carey is a vice principal at Garth Webb Secondary School. She is nominated for her role as a secondary instructional program leader at the New Street Education Center. Meg has been a true leader, taking on the responsibilities of a large portfolio of literacy across the secondary curriculum. Meg has been a dedicated and inspirational educator for more than 15 years. Throughout her impressive career, she has worked as a classroom teacher, department head, literacy coach, OSSLT lead, and instructional program leader and mentor. During her time as a teacher and department head, Meg has spent countless hours working with teachers to improve their instructional practice. She worked hard to bring guided reading and small group instruction and pedagogical approaches that are now an integral part of classroom instruction into all English classrooms. Her focus and dedication to supporting students, in particular English language learners, never wavered. As an instructional leader, Meg has been the driving force behind bringing the Welcome Center and ELL programming to the HDSB. The department will miss Meg, as she is now the vice principal at Garth Webb Secondary School, where we know she will inspire so many and will do so many great things. Congratulations. The next Inspire Award is going to Robert Little In-Person Learning Team. In the Robert Little In-Person Learning Team. And this team, this will be presented by Trustee Jean Gray.
Thank you. The Robert Little Public School team of teacher Jamie Doherty and educational assistants Chelsea George, Brittany Tenier, and Margot Welk are truly incredible. These educators re-entered school during last year when students with special needs kids needed and where permitted to be physically back in the building for learning. Families say they watched their children thrive under the supervision and attention of this team, seeing their passion for learning grow. The students' smiles returned because of the dedication of this team, and for that we are forever grateful. Congratulations to all members of this very special team at Robert Little.
Congratulations. The next Inspire Award is going to Derek Tellier, and it will be presented by Vice Chair Al Harrison.
Thank you. Derek is a teacher at W.H. Morden Public School. He's nominated for his role as a teacher at the Virtual School Elementary West. In the most challenging year possible, Derek adapted so well to virtual instruction. In addition to teaching all the required course material, he started every day with a topic of growth mindset, with inspirational quotes and discussions to help the class focus on becoming their best selves. His assignments were challenging and unique and always adjusted to best suit students. He encouraged each student to rise to their best abilities while supporting them through the difficult year. Thank you so much, Derek, for using the 2020-2021 school year as a way to help students on their path to becoming resilient learners, a trait that will serve them well for a very long time.
Congratulations. The next Inspire Award is going to Catherine Longhurst, and it will be presented by Trustee Kelly Amos.
Post Corners Public School teacher Catherine Longhurst has been a positive and inspiring role model. She has shown confidence in fellow staff members, including teaching assistants, and that confidence in her peers has gone a long way in helping educators at Post Corners thrive. Catherine always looked at ways to develop skills as a teacher and professional, encouraging others to go beyond their comfort zone. She's helped a teaching assistant believe in herself to teach a certain subject, and she succeeded. This goes to show the power of having a mentor like Catherine, believing in yourself and challenging you at the same time. A caring teacher, Catherine has shown others how a supportive staff member can make such a positive difference in a school and classroom. She cares for the well-being of her colleagues and especially her students. Catherine's support has motivated others to embrace their teaching profession and be the best that they can be. Congratulations, Catherine, for being such an inspiration.
Congratulations. And Trustee Kelly Amos will also be presenting this final Wonderful Inspire Award to Beth Hudson.
And I'm honored to present this Inspire Award to Beth Hudson. As principal at Post Corners Public School, Beth Hudson has been a welcoming and inspiring administrator. Positive, enthusiastic, and approachable, she has been supportive of school staff by creating an environment for all to succeed. She checks in regularly with teachers to ensure they have what they need. In particular, Beth makes time to provide meaningful one-on-one feedback to teaching candidates. Whether you're a temporary teacher or permanent staff member, Beth creates a safe and welcoming school environment, making everyone feel valued and appreciated. This kind of working environment makes staff feel more confident and prepared in what they do. Beth sets a positive tone in the school in which students benefit. Beth defines the term inspire as her commitment and dedication to developing teacher candidates and staff ultimately translates to student success. Congratulations, Beth, on being such an inspiration.
And congratulations to all our Inspire Award recipients for your outstanding support for Halton District School Board student achievement and well-being. And also a special thank you to Susan Thrasher in the Director's office who works every month to make sure trustees have all they need to assess nominees and provide a conduit of information. For everyone watching this evening, please continue to nominate people or organizations who support our students and their achievements through exemplary caring, initiative, innovation, and creativity. The nomination form is available on the hdsb.ca website. Next on our agenda is a presentation, summer virtual course for Indigenous and/or racialized students, and this will be presented by Superintendent Barnes.
Good evening, through you, Chair Gerbens, to the trustees. Have a good news presentation to share today. And just give me a moment, I'm just going to put up my presentation. I brought along a few guests. So I just briefly wanted to walk through some slides and then a few other guests will be speaking. This summer, we offered for the very first time a Designing Your Future grade 11 credit that was open to students in grade 10, 11, 12 who are Indigenous and or racialized students. We hired an HDSB racialized teacher and an instructor OCT certified from U of T Mississauga. There were 16 students enrolled in the course. They identified as being Black, Indigenous, South Asian, East Asian, Pacific Islander, Latinx, and Middle Eastern. The course aligned with the multi-year plan of the way forward. As I mentioned, there was an Indigenous racialized teacher. The job ad focused on hiring a teacher with these qualifications. And the promotion was done through guidance school offices, secondary school co-op teachers, and various other communication methods in the board. The course was grounded on culturally responsive and relevant pedagogy. So the focus was on high expectations from the teacher, cultural competence with regards to interactions with students and families, and a critical consciousness when considering resources and incorporating instructional strategies. There was a team effort of collaboration to pull this planning together, which involved representatives from University of Toronto, Mississauga, and representatives from the HDSB. Special mention to Darlene White and Louise Patelos, secondary administrators, who were instrumental in getting this program off the ground. Next year, we are going to be looking at expanding this course to 2 classes and considering offering an e-learning credit in semester 2. And also, you'll hear about a mentorship component that we hope to continue. Dr. Elizabeth Colson will be speaking in a moment and to give some highlights of her involvement, followed by 2 fantastic teachers, Daniel Safia and Martin Karangal. And they'll talk about some features of the course. We'll also be hearing from Twain Anderson. He was one of the fabulous University of Toronto mentors and OISE UT candidates. And then 2 students, Molly Locker and Tessa Burry. At the end, if trustees have any questions, we will take it. And also, I have some testimonies to share electronically if you'd like to see them. So I will stop there. And I'm going to pass over to Dr. Liz Colson.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. Thank you so much for inviting us in to share a bit about our summer program. I'm a professor at the University of Toronto, Mississauga, and also was at OISE for 10 years. But my heart's really open because I was also a Halton High School teacher for many years. So really happy to be here and in this partnership. So one of our directives at the University of Toronto is, of course, to improve access to university centered in equity. And this high school credit that has been offered is a wonderful bridge for high school students to get a taste of university. We see it as a runway. So lights we haven't traveled a lot in this time, I know, but the runway path that people can see their future. And it's such a helpful experience for our university students and our teacher candidates at OISE to be involved in mentoring in small group, one-on-one, large group parts of the course. But imagine next year, as we continue to expand, and on our side, we'll continue to work on getting grant funding for this type of program. Imagine students coming onto our campus and attending labs, going to lectures, being really immersed in our campus as part of this course. And I think we can continue to see the partnership build. So very excited. I'll pass it over.
Thank you, Dr. Colson. We'll hear from the teachers now.
Okay, so hi, I'm Danielle. I was one of the teachers. So I'm just going to talk about some of the goals that we had, which was self-advocacy. So having the students know their rights and being able to stand up for themselves and just providing them with the confidence and the tools to do that. We also really wanted them to have a growth mindset, so encouraging them to make mistakes and to learn from those mistakes and just know that they're capable of achieving what they want to achieve. So just promoting the ongoing learning. We also really wanted to promote positive mental health. So we had different activities and things like that where we provide them with tools and coping mechanisms to cope with anxiety, stress, depression, things like that. And then we also wanted to build a sense of community. So we had the mentors come in and we had small group discussions. We sent them out into breakout rooms. We had guest speakers come in and have them talk about different fields that students might be interested in. And we had a lot of storytelling where students got to learn about and learn from different mistakes from mentors and from teachers and from guest speakers. So I'll pass it on to Martin.
Thank you for that, Danielle. Hi, everybody. Good evening. My name is Martin Karangal. And I also just want to talk about how this program didn't just benefit the students, which is obviously the main goal, but it also really benefited the mentors and Danielle and I as well, pretty much anyone involved in the program. Now, speaking for myself, ultimately, I felt that although my teaching career is quite young and new, I felt that this was a truly fulfilling experience where I was able to, be able to share my experience and hear from the experience of other students who grew up in a similar situation as me in some way, shape, or form. I've always felt different, not only in the high school as a student, but also in a profession where we don't really see as many visible minorities, growing up as a first-gen immigrant, typically. And being able to become that representation and inspire others to become the representation for themselves in their own fields, wherever it may be, was just truly just an unforgettable experience and really allowed us to further develop our passions within teaching.
Thank you, Martin. Now over to Twain, who is the U of T mentor teacher.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. My name is Twain Anderson, and as stated, I am a second-year student at OISE at the University of Toronto. And the reason I chose to study at OISE was obviously everyone wants a U of T degree, but all jokes aside, I chose to study at OISE just because I wanted to make an impact, and especially by doing so with my research, which is Black-centered. But more notably involving the course this summer with the students, I was able to work as the student mentor, able to provide sessions and lessons with the students with regards to health and wellness, especially during these times. We were able to mentor them in terms of creating feasible pathways they could have towards their post-secondary goals. Like mentioned, we brought in guest speakers and also just creating lessons and things of that nature. We were also able to have some critical discussions with the students just in regard to just discourse and dialogue with race and how we as racialized people have to navigate life in terms of employment, work, schooling, and all that good stuff as well. So to conclude, I was pretty thankful to be offered the ability to work with these wonderful people, as well as the students, because I was able to feel that impact being envisioned into the program. And moving forward, like Lisa said, I think seeing is believing. So if the students are able to then see campus or come to campus and be a part of live lectures, labs, see our facilities that we have there, it will definitely spark curiosity with the students, as well as, I mean, seeing is believing, like I've mentioned, but also they won't just feel welcome in the spaces, they'll know that they deserve to be there, essentially. So those are my insights and experiences over the summer. So thank you.
Thank you, Twain. And now we'll hear from Tessa Burry and Molly Locker. Tessa, I think you're speaking first.
Yes. Good evening. My name is Tessa, and I'm a grade 10 student at Hayden Secondary School. I just wanted to start off by saying thank you for inviting me to speak tonight. It's such a wonderful opportunity, and I'm very grateful to be here speaking about the GWL course. I'm not going to lie, when my parents told me they had signed me up for summer school, I was very nervous. Prior to this past summer, I hadn't taken any summer school courses, and at the beginning, I was not very happy to go. I didn't know anyone, but I'm very thankful that they strongly suggested that I participated. I gained so much new knowledge from only a month of this course, and I wish it could have been a lot longer. Learning about the different pathways to success and even just meeting new people and building connections was such an amazing opportunity. When I heard it was only being offered to racialized students, I was worried. Growing up in Burlington as biracial, I haven't experienced any overt racism, and I didn't want to feel segregated. But I couldn't have been more wrong. Offering courses that are for a select group of students, I feel really helps the students succeed by creating a safe space for everyone. In this course, I not only felt heard, valued, but I felt included. Everyone shared what they were comfortable sharing, and not only that, but I appreciated how the mentors and teachers even shared some of their life stories. The whole experience was amazing and really helped me open my eyes to other perspectives and opinions. When we started the course, I thought I had my life plan. I was going to Western Ivy for business and becoming an entrepreneur to become someone successful. After taking this course, I realized that I actually have other options and things don't always go to plan, and that's okay. It was such a wonderful experience to take this course. The structure and delivery was amazing, and I loved how it wasn't about getting more students to go with U of T or getting more people to become teachers. It was really to help students succeed at what they wanted. I felt that everyone could speak on what they wanted to become, and not only the adults, but the other students were so supportive. There were so many different interests in the group, and no one acted like they knew everything. As this is a new course, we were all learning together, and it honestly helped make it less stressful. This course wasn't about getting the right answer or memorizing dates or formulas. It was really about making sure by the end of it, you are more aware of the available options and figuring out what it was that you wanted for yourself. I definitely believe that continuing this course next summer and even potentially adding it as an elective or even just opening it up to more students would definitely be very beneficial. Thank you.
Thank you, Tessa. Now, Molly, you'll be the last speaker.
Okay, so hello, I'm Molly Locker. I'm a post-secondary graduate with honors. I'd like to start by saying that there really are not many classes like this available for students. And I find that I've certainly never taken a course like it, and I felt like it was difficult to know what to expect because just how unavailable courses like this generally are. I find that there are stumbling blocks with just about any class. I have taken a number of specialized specific courses for gender studies, mental health, physical disability, and there were a number of blind spots that I often felt alienated the student body. I know would certainly had certainly alienated me, which is why this class felt so different. It's one of the many reasons I think the Designing Your Future course is so important, especially for younger students. As a graduate, this was my last ever high school course. I purely took it for the experience it provided, the unique perspective and outlook. I did not need the credit. I deeply, deeply wanted to take this course because of how valuable I found it could be. As someone who's mixed race and relatively distanced from their family and culture, I didn't necessarily, I was hesitant to take the course. Even now, speaking as a student that's trying to represent other kids, I feel conflicted about it. Like I don't necessarily belong here, but I trust my teachers very deeply because of how deeply aware they are of a number of things. I certainly didn't want to question them. But being the outsider, I think it speaks to how important this class was, because this was one of the few environments where I actually felt welcomed and safe, as if I belonged. It reflected the way I felt my entire school life. It impacted my mental health, my sense of self, my education, relationships with just about every fundamental aspect of my life was impacted by feeling like an outsider. Having this course sooner in my life would have completely changed my outlook, my perspective on my education, my identity. I'm deeply grateful for the student mentors, even my teachers, who shared very familiar stories, deeply impactful experiences that brought a far deeper awareness to not only possible educational and career paths, but then ultimately deeper psychological perspectives and decisions that I find tend to be left out of the conversation for kids like me in a generalized course. It was a very open environment to discuss very sensitive topics for a lot of us that often go overlooked. It would have greatly impacted everything that I had done in my high school path for the better, and in many ways has already changed my approach for my post-secondary path and plans for my future. There really are not many courses like this available, and I truly believe that it already has made an extremely profound impact on everyone who was lucky enough to be involved. So thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, Molly and Tessa and the rest of our guests. We'll stop there and I'll take any questions if the trustees have any. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I'm looking to the speakers list. Trustee Shuttleworth, go right ahead.
Thank you. Through you, Chair, to all of the students who spoke, and in particular, Superintendent Barnes. I appreciate all the insight you gave us. My question is, so a couple of the students mentioned the idea of embedding this into a course during school time. Is there a possibility that this can become more than a summer school program?
Through you, Chair, to Trustee Shuttleworth. Yeah, we're exploring all options, and one pilot we might do is embedding as an e-learning course second semester, which the students could access virtually. And after that, I think it would be a decision at a school level if schools wanted to offer the course with this particular focus, or if we wanted to run a virtual course again throughout the school day. But it just turned out that this was virtual because we were in COVID, but there are other options that we can explore in the future.
Thank you.
Okay, looking to the speakers list. Trustee Amos, go right ahead.
Thank you so much for this presentation. And it is so meaningful to hear the impact that just one course can have on students. And so thank you to all of you who are involved in making that a safe place, and for and the things that you shared and the guidance that you provided these students. And thank you to the two students who spoke and for sharing how you believe it impacted you. It really means a lot, and that's something that we need to hear. But I do have a question. Do you think I believe this course was run virtually last year. Do you feel you would have had the same impact in a classroom, or do you feel it is better run virtually?
Is that a question
Yeah.
for us to respond to?
Okay.
Oh, I'm
You're
sorry.
asking-
I wasn't sure if that was something we were meant to answer or not. I'm sorry.
I'll respond through your chair to Trustee Amos, and then maybe Mila can respond. I guess we'll find that out. It just turned out that it was in person, and the students and teachers did breakout groups, which they found were very safe spaces, lots of rich, safe conversations. But originally, I think when we first talked about this, we weren't sure if we would have an in-person component. But I think we're just going to learn from the experience and talk to the students and see what might be possible in the future.
I'd love to hear what Molly has to say if she would like to share.
I am sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt. I got confused. But I think that it would be far more impactful as an in-person course. Obviously, 2020, 2021 isn't exactly the most ideal year for in-person learning, but I certainly feel like if this was something that people could do actually together, it would probably be far more impactful. I found the online summer school course to be slightly a limiting way to access the class, and would have far preferred to have done it in person. I think that would have been really, really good.
Yeah. And I'll just add that with our conversation with Dr. Colson before, they were prepared to come on campus with us. Their staff were going to come to Halton. So that's something we might pursue in the future.
Thank you very much again. I really appreciate hearing about this. This is the kind of thing that is inspiring, and because it makes such a difference.
Okay, thank you. There are no other speakers on the speakers list, so I want to say thank you very much for this presentation. It was, I felt the impact through student voice, and I myself felt impacted by the way they spoke of the change that they've felt, and the fact that having this course earlier would have an even greater impact, as Molly said. So thank you very much for coming out. These presentations are very important for trustees to hear and see, so that we can continue to improve our system and improve the academic achievement and the well-being of our students. So thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Okay, next up to we're at 2.3, which is, we have no delegations this evening. So we are up to the consent agenda items. Trustee Garretts, would you like to move a motion to deal with the consent agenda?
Yes, I would. Thank you very much.
And Trustee Gray, would you like to second?
Happy to do so.
Thank you. I'm going to put the motion on the floor. Be it resolved that the Halton District School Board approve the consent agenda action items and receive the information items for October the 6th, 2021. Are there any items that need to be pulled for discussion? I am just looking to the speakers list. Okay, seeing none. Oh, Trustee Shuttleworth, go right ahead.
Yeah, if I could pull the report on suspensions and expulsions, please. 3.1.5.
Okay, thank you. And I see Trustee Bowes on the list. Is this for the same one, or would you like to pull a different report from the consent agenda?
This is a different one. This is about the AP dress code.
Okay, so we'll have Trustee Shuttleworth go first, and then we'll have you go next. Thank you.
Thank you. Through you, Chair. I'm thinking my question might be to Superintendent Barnes, I'm guessing. So last night at SEAC, we had a presentation on student well-being, and I noticed the numbers of support for student well-being were somewhat similar to the number, like there was a correlation between the increase in suspensions and expulsions for elementary and the number of students that were accessing support to student well-being. I'm just wondering if we have looked at if that there's any way to use that in a preventative way in the future. I don't know if that question makes sense.
Through you, Chair, to Trustee Shuttleworth. I think it's a good wondering to explore. I can comment, and Superintendent Project might comment as well in terms of his perspective. I think I don't know if there's a correlation, but I think we have to look at the data from the well-being perspective, and we're also in different times. The fact that we've been in the pandemic, so that's another wondering I have, whether there would be a correlation or not. I'll stop there.
Superintendent
Hi,
Potter.
good evening. Through the chair to Trustee Shuttleworth. Would always say that our CYCs and social workers are always involved. There's always post-vention after a suspension. There's usually a meeting. It's part of the process coming back in, and there could be supports or visits or just some soft monitoring after that. So I think that's always been a place there. I think the well-being piece you're probably referring to more is there preventative work that we could look at, and I think all of our work around anxiety, self-regulation. I know we're doing a lot of this right now, and the focus and just the broader well-being plan is to get out. All of that is to improve conditions of learning for kids, right? And obviously, highly engaged kids will have fewer behavior problems. So I think through that's always been a goal of ours, and if anything, just through improved data and metrics, we'll be able to monitor that even better. So that would be my response on that.
Okay, thank you. I just was really interesting. I just noticed when we were at SEAC last night and this presentation was happening, the numbers for the elementary schools were higher in both areas, which was not a surprise, but a contrast to the previous year in this, like it was a flip with the suspensions and expulsions. And I just kind of twigged on it and wondered if there was any way that we could use those pieces of information to create that preventative measure in steps towards keeping the kids in school.
Okay. The next question is Trustee Bowell. Go right ahead.
Through you, Chair, to Superintendent Padra-Barrick. So over the summer, Trustee Whittle-Carr and I reviewed the AP dress code with a few Senate executives. Our main concern lies around whether or not a violation of the dress code will mean that the student who is in violation of the dress code will have their school day interrupted, or whether or not the school will provide a change of clothes. Additionally, does the dress code apply to elementary and secondary school students in the same way? Superintendent Padra-Barrick, can you speak to this point again for clarity and public interest?
Absolutely. Through the chair to our student trustees, really. And thank you for reaching out with questions around all throughout the dress code development process. What we've done in the dress code is it's listed as a kind of a board-wide approval. Ultimate authority lies at the school level on student dress code. So schools may and certainly have the ability to massage or morph this. For example, a K-5 school may soften some of the parts around dress code, or they just may not feel it's as relevant to them. And similarly, an intermediate or a secondary school could do the same as well. And we're working with schools around that right now. I mean, the word dignity and respect pops out of this all over the place, and that is the intent of it, is to make some of the arbitrary rules that would discriminate against I would suggest a lot of female students over time is to really challenge and push back against that a little bit, and that's the intent here. So this isn't put out as a disciplinary piece. It's put out as an AP for our staff to follow and implement and better align with the equity work we've been doing. We felt this AP wasn't necessarily the best sign of the times, and it did need an update to better align with our equity values that we put out as a board. So we don't expect this to be a hard, contentious piece, just an ongoing discussion with students at a school level. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, that answers my question. Thank you.
Okay, next speaker is Trustee Collar. Go right ahead.
Thank you. I'm looking at the AP and realizing that the fourth bullet point down, the second sentence, I think should be its own bullet point because they're not linked. So I believe a bullet point was just missed where it says students have a right to wear religious attire without fear of discipline or discrimination. I believe it should be on its own. And I get a little bit worried when I see lists, specifically looking at number 3, a very, very long list of reasons why people might not be treated equitably. It should suffice to say all students are treated equitably. We shouldn't have to say regardless of and then give a list, because inevitably we are going to forget something. So if we feel that we need to do a list, perhaps it shouldn't end with or body type size. Perhaps that or should be moved behind body type size and say or any other area which may have systemic bias or something of that nature, so that we really truly are inclusive of all students and any biases that may appear that we haven't listed there. Do you understand where I'm going with that?
I do. Obviously, our equity team was heavily involved in the overview, and I would say they felt strongly about having those in there listed. So they would push back a little harder than I would be able to tonight, but there were long discussions around that point. And where we landed was the recommendation was to include it in there. Some of these groups are also noted in the code of conduct as well. So we're trying to bring some evenness to that. But
yeah, I understand that. I'm just wondering about the possibility of adding something at the end that says, okay, this list isn't exhaustive, because by leaving it the way it is, if it's not an exhaustive list, then we've left the door open for bias to creep in. And that's my concern. And then, of course, my other point about students have a right to wear religious attire should be its own bullet point, I believe. The only other point that I had was the second to last bullet says, or other illegal conduct or activities. Perhaps it just should say, or illegal conduct or activities, because not all drugs are illegal. And if you're over the age of 19, not alcohol and marijuana are not illegal. So it should probably just say, or illegal conduct or activities, without the word other.
We can take a look at that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Trustee Vidyalankarra.
Thanks. Through the chair, I just wanted to echo Trustee Collard's point about, I think it's the 4th point, where it does list the different ways that a student can be discriminated against. I don't mind there being a list of things, but she makes a good point, having something at the end stating that this is not an exhaustive list. I don't think hurts. I think it actually benefits the AP. Just off the top of my head too, I mean, it has no mention of like political expression or just personal beliefs, even like if a student comes dressed in, I don't know, something that they support a political party or something like that would be, you can't discriminate against that either. So I don't see harm in just mentioning that this isn't an exhaustive list. So this doesn't include everything. Other than that, we really appreciate, like Trustee Bao mentioned, the opportunity to look more closely at this AP. I know there were a couple suggestions we'd given regarding language, so we appreciate those suggestions being added. Like I think in the second point, I don't have an updated version of this, but the second point, the word distractions, we'd asked that be put in quotation marks because distractions are subjective and we don't actually believe that students' clothing is distracting at this board. I think it's subjective and a personal belief. So we really appreciate Superintendent Podroberic and his team for accepting our suggestions and for hearing us out. Thanks. I'll pass it back to the chair.
Okay, thank you very much. And looking to see if there are any other speakers on the speakers list. Are you trying to? Vice Chair Al Harrison, go right ahead.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair. So is this one going to therefore be coming back to us? I think I heard Superintendent Podroberic say there were things to be looked at. So that's a question of clarification. And if so, I think this is one of the only APs to be written in first person. So our beliefs, we believe, etc. I'm not sure if that follows the format of other APs that we have. And then lastly, just with respect to part 2, the school uniforms piece and the eligibility to vote, I think I raised last time just my thoughts there for secondary schools in particular, that families are eligible to vote, but students are not. Whether that be, given all of the conversations we have about student voice, it just doesn't sit really super well with me that a grade 12 student would not be voting, but their parents, guardians would be, because oftentimes those two, despite living under the same roof, may be out of sync in terms of what they believe and value at that particular moment. So I don't know how many instances of school uniforms we have in the board and how often this comes up. It just doesn't feel quite right to me. But I recognize this is an operational issue, so thanks.
Yeah. Through the chair, I can shed a little bit of light to Trustee Al Harrison on that. So we did add student consultation in there per the discussion last June around this AP. So we did add that in there. The voting piece lives in school council regulations, and that's largely a parent-driven body, hence the formal voting. Our intent would be, I don't think any school would actively pursue this, and no school is currently doing our board, and we don't foresee this happening necessarily. Nonetheless, we need a process in there. Should a school or a new school community at least want to look at it, they can see the course they'd have to travel on to do that. We would see students obviously as being a huge part of this, so we did build them into school councils and consultation with parents, students, and staff in terms of developing the policy. So schools, we would encourage in that consultation for schools to do some sort of voting or polling outside of via the superintendent's council it would be outside of the school council, but certainly data that should be considered in any process. And again, this is a rare piece. It's out there, it lives out there, but it's not something we foresee happening. The dress code pieces we think are far more relevant for day-to-day use in our schools. As for the first person pieces, Manager Gortmaker and I can take a look at that and address as needed. I'm not sure. I'll leave that to the board to determine if they'd like to see that again or if we could just make those quick fixes.
Okay, we'll leave this in your hands. Okay, so so I guess we're going to a vote. And I guess we need some clarification. The reports we talked about tonight, will any of them be returning? I know there weren't really substantive changes in them. Our trustees, these are again in the operational realm. So I would assume that we've provided our feedback and the staff will do with it as they choose. And so now we are just going to vote on the consent agenda itself, whether to approve the action items and receive the information items. So all those in favor?
Affirmative, Trustee Gray.
Thank you very much, Trustee Gray. Just missing Trustee Garretts. How do you feel? Trustee Garretts? She must be having some technical difficulties. It does carry unanimously with everybody else. So it does carry. Thank you very much. Okay, we're moving on to ratification action items. Vice Chair Harrison, do we have any business from private session that requires approval?
Yes, Madam Chair, we have two motions. Thank you. Through you, the first one, be it resolved that the Halton District School Board approve the resolution from the Halton District School Board meeting in private session on October 6, 2021, respecting Property Matters Report 12121. And I so move.
Thank you. And Trustee Reynolds, would you like to second this motion?
Yes, I would. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any discussion at all? Looking to the speakers list. Seeing none. All those in favor?
Affirmative, Trustee.
Thank you. And just a point of order that Trustee Garretts did send me a text that she voted positively for the consent agenda, and I'm asking her now if she could do the same. She's obviously having issues. Yes. Okay, that carries unanimously. Thank you very much. Okay, and moving, do we have another item?
Yes, we do.
Go right ahead.
Be it resolved that the Halton District School Board approve the resolution from the Halton District School Board meeting in private session on October 6, 2021, respecting property matters, and I so move.
Thank you. Trustee Shuttleworth, would you like to second this motion?
Yes, I would.
Okay, is there any discussion at all on this motion? Looking to the speakers list. Seeing none, all those in favor?
Affirmative.
That was trustee Garrett's?
Yes, sorry, thank you.
No problem. And trustee Gray? I know we have some internet issues this evening. Okay, that carries. Just haven't heard from trustee Gray.
Affirmative, trustee Gray.
Thank you. So that's carries unanimously. Thank you very much. Okay, so we are now up to action items for October the 6th. We have 2 action items this evening. I'm going to draw your attention to Policy Review Report 21119, submitted by Director Ennis. Trustee Collard, would you like to move this item?
Yes, thank you very much.
And Trustee Rocha, would you like to second?
Yes, I would. Thank you.
Thank you. I will read the recommendation. Be it resolved that the Halton District School Board approve the following policies as appended to Report 21119, Sustainability, Education and Environment Policy, School Dress Code, and Prohibition regarding alcohol and recreational use of cannabis products. Is there any debate? Looking to the speakers list. Vice Chair Harrison, go right ahead.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair. Let me just get myself together here for a second. With respect to the dress code policy, in terms of their directive, is there any requirement to post and make accessible the dress code and/or let students know each year of the contents? And we're requiring principals to consult on the school-specific dress codes. Has the board consulted on this policy itself? So I guess my question is, did the students, senators or trustees also look at the policy when they looked at the AP? Thank you.
Through the chair, I'm going to ask Superintendent Potter-Barrick to respond. Go ahead.
Happy to. Yes, I mean, the answer is yes. There's broad consultations, and we look at these, and also broad sharing. So we ask principals and then finalize their dress codes there to post them online on their school websites, and also share annually with school councils. That is written in the PPM. So that's the general path. We've lodged this year efforts where the period 1 teacher in a secondary school, or the it's baseball, the homeroom teacher. This year, actually, we were asked every teacher to do a quick lessons, age appropriate, which we provided around just to create student awareness around the dress code in really age appropriate ways, because we did feel, going back to last year, that there perhaps was not enough awareness around this. We'll also take the revised pieces to pick, get their input. There's always a quick review on these. It is an annual piece in schools, so changes can be made pretty promptly if they come out. So schools, principals have not done that yet with councils, but they will be this year having those discussions. So kind of there's pre-consultation, post, and just ongoing really around school dress codes and school code of conducts both. I hope that helps answer the question.
Do you have a follow-up?
Yeah, I just wonder whether that under specific directives, it should include schools are encouraged to consult on, create, and communicate a dress code that is just to really kind of be inclusive of the entire process that you spoke of, because as it is now, it seems to reflect only the physical creation piece.
We could put that into directives. It is currently in the administrative procedure for admin to follow that pathway. It's not specifically in the policy. We could make those additions as well.
Thank you.
Okay, there are no other speakers on the speakers list. So, oh, you have another question, Vice Chair Harrison? Go right ahead.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair. My other question is just with respect to the sustainability policy and the notation regarding the United Nations Sustainability Goals, acting as a framework to support board actions. So I wonder whether that is in reference to operational actions or policy actions, because I would guess that for many people, there isn't necessarily a strong awareness of what the UN SDGs are, and if we're to utilize them as a framework for both policy and or operational decision making, I just wonder what the plan is to let people know what those are and how they'll be used as a framework. It seems like really lofty words to include it, but I just want to make sure that it's actually actionable. And I wonder if Trustee Rocha, who sits on the environmental management team, or Executive Officer Godet have, if the groups have thought about how to operationalize that. Thanks.
Would anybody like to answer Vice Chair Harrison?
Good evening. I can take a crack at that if you'd like, through the chair to Trustee Vice Chair L. Harrison. I do see these as being operationalized, and I also, to your point, see them as being lofty goals. My experience with sustainability started when I'll say I was trying to describe what green meant to a board of trustees, and I think trying to describe that was a very challenging exercise because that terminology was pretty vague and meant different things to different people depending on their background, their experiences, and where they were coming from. So when I had the opportunity to join this board and piggyback on the great work that had been laid by others, looking for a framework, this framework has been around for about 6 years through the United Nations. It, I'll say, is new in some circles, but certainly if you're an active member on a provincial committee around the Environment and Sustainability Committee for OASBO, as an example, this is very well known. It is often referred to and very well understood by many that are active in their body of work, not only around climate change or environment. It's a broader based framework that I believe links very well to our multi-year plan and the 5 commitments. We've had discussions around the intersectionality of this framework and how I think staff and students can see how their contributions line up with these 17 lofty goals. I do think that is the body of work that we need to take on next once the sustainability policy finally passes, is to figure out how to operationalize it and bring forward meaningful content that measures our progress as our key performance indicators that align up with these United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. I hope that helps.
Vice Chair Harrison, do you have a follow-up?
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair. I think it's great. I myself work in the environment field and utilize the SDGs in some capacity. I'm just, I guess, really curious again to understand or see how they will be used as a framework, and whether it's an expectation that trustees are also using that framework to make decisions. And if so, I would like to understand when we're going to learn about how to do that.
So are you looking for an answer now, or are you just kind of sending that out into the universe?
Okay, here's the thing. We're being asked to approve the, pardon me, through you, Madam Chair. We're being asked to approve this policy this evening, and it says that the UN SDGs are going to act as a framework to support the development of the board's actions. So I guess I just would like to understand whether the Board of Trustees' actions are included in that. And if so, if yes, when are we going to learn about this framework and how to use it? Because we're going to be making decisions tonight and in 2 weeks and so on. So I just want to make sure that I'm upholding a policy that we are just potentially approving. And I don't mean to be a pain, but thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there a staff member or Executive Officer Gadet? Would you?
I can speak or try and respond to, I think, the question of how the framework will be utilized by staff, and particularly around the sustainability portfolio. I hope that in the near future you will actually see us begin to develop and provide to you key performance indicators, I'll say in addition to what you'll see later this evening in the operational plan in terms of what we've achieved, but how these actions align with the SDGs and where they show up. And I think to the earlier discussion, that interconnectedness, we have been working in the background around eco-anxiety and trying to engage with teachers and find the curriculum linkages to this as well. So I do think there's going to be some great connections that staff will activate. And with that, hopefully we'll learn more as a group, and hopefully that will help inform some of the questions around how trustees will use this framework.
Yeah, Director Ennis, go right ahead.
Thank you. And through the chair, if I may just add to Vice Chair L. Harrison, we would certainly be open to providing trustees with, some of the framework for the SDG, and making sure that everyone knows exactly what they are and how we can best operationalize those in this policy. So it's something that we as staff can commit to supporting trustees with as we move forward.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so looking to the speakers list, there are no more speakers. So all those in favor?
In favor, Trustee Gray.
Thank you, Trustee Gray.
Affirmative, Trustee Garrett.
Thank you, Trustee Garrett. Okay, that carries.
Affirmative,
Oh, Trustee Rocha was affirmative. Okay, you must be off my list here. Yes, you are. Okay. So that carries, but it does not carry unanimously. So I will just mention the no vote, because I'm efficient, is Vice Chair Al Harrison. Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to the next item is item 422, Student Trustee Mentor Terms of Reference, Report 21124. And this was submitted by Trustee Reynolds and Trustee Oliver. Trustee Reynolds, would you like to move this motion?
Yes, thank you, I would.
Trustee Oliver, would you like to second?
Yes, I second it.
Thank you. I'll put the recommendation on the floor. Be it resolved that the Halton District School Board Student Trustee Mentor Terms of Reference as appended to Report 21124 be appended to the Halton District School Board Committee's governance procedure. Before we debate this, Trustees Reynolds or Oliver, would you either of you like to speak to this report? Trustee Oliver, go right ahead.
Thank you. Through you, Chair. I'll just provide some context through you to trustees. So as you know, majority of our, if not all of our committees have terms of reference that guide the work of the members of the committee. The student trustee mentorship is a domain that did not have terms of reference. And so Trustee Reynolds and I, when we took on the role of student trustee mentors, felt that it would be helpful to establish such terms of reference to serve as a guide. In addition, as an aside, we did create an orientation checklist. And all of this was developed in conjunction with the most recent student trustee mentors, staff advisors, and of course, our student trustees. Over to you, Trustee Reynolds.
Yes, thank you. Sorry, I have so many tabs open. Of course, we're looking for your support today, but we'd like to take just a moment to share appreciation to all trustees around the table who had a hand in reviewing this work, but in particular the subcommittee members who joined us. Trustees Shuttleworth, Daniele, Rocha, Vanilla Cara, Taylor, and now our new student trustee, Bayo. But we also want to give a shout out to a number of the staff who shared their time, who reviewed the overlap areas of responsibilities, that also share the responsibility, the staff mentors. So thank you, Associate Director Bogue, Louisa Botello, Ryan Henderson, and Jay Portras. Finally, just as an aside, we've got more work to do. One of the outcomes of this work is we are now embarking on reviewing the student trustee policy, which, by the way, our first meeting is Thursday, October 7th, 7 to 8 p.m. Stay tuned for your link, but thank you.
Okay, so looking to the speakers list, is there any debate? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Affirmative, Trustee Garrett.
Thank you very much, Trustee Garrett.
Affirmative, Trustee Gray.
Thank you, Trustee Gray. And that carries unanimously. Thank you very much. Okay. Sorry, I'm just looking at the screen, and there needs to be an adjustment made. Mr. Raposo, in the future, that Trustee Amos is considered a student vote right now, and Trustee Bao is considered an elected a municipally elected trustee. So, okay, thank you very much. Okay, next. So yes, that carried unanimously. Moving on to the student trustee report. Trustees Bao and Vigilankara, do you have a report for us this evening?
Yes, we do. Okay. So through the chair, so good evening, everyone. The main message from us today is with regards to student senate recruitment. So far, principals and staff members have been sending us the names of their senators. And we have noticed that fewer schools have let us know who their senators are this year at this point in time. The deadline to appoint senators is next Friday, so October 15th. And we've reached out to Associate Director Bogue for some support by sending a reminder to principals and about appointing senators. So if possible, it'd be great if he could add it to his report on Thursday. Thank you. However, having said this, we believe it's due to the fact that there's been a great increase in interest for the position of student senator, that now that there's so many more students who know about the position, there's an increase in competition for the role. So schools that, for example, typically only had one student senator and they didn't have a formal application process, now have had to implement a process. Other schools have had to extend their application process in order to accommodate the influx of new interest. So that's also led to a slight delay in letting us know who the nominee for a school is. In any case, we'll also be sending a list of schools in each trustee's ward that have yet to select senators. So we hope that we can count on trustee support in encouraging all schools to nominate senators for the year. Expect an email from us next week. Another observation on the current recruitment process, we've heard from students, families, staff, and principals that, of course, there's been a huge increase in interest. Lots of students have even expressed interest in running for the position of student trustee once they're older. Based on what we've heard from students and families, we can sort of attribute this increase to, I think, two main factors, among other reasons. Firstly, the message that we sent out directly to students and families. And secondly, we were really happy to hear that some of this interest was generated through HYLS last year. So we held HYLS virtually last year, and we hosted over 250 students. So a lot of those students are reaching out and saying that is what inspired them to put their name forward this year. Keeping with our goal to continue to have equity and inclusion at the forefront, we've made the decision to include student reps from the Community Pathways program on the Student Senate this year. We already have a couple students confirmed to be representing their school, and a message is being sent out to the principals of CPP schools requesting 1 or 2 CPP student reps for Senate. And again, keeping with this theme of inclusion, another change to the Senate this year, we are hoping to open up our Student Senate subcommittees to a number of students outside of the Senate. So we recognize that a lot of schools are unfortunately unable to give the position of senator to each student that they feel is qualified and passionate about the role. And there's also a large number of students who aren't interested in being senators, but are interested in advocating for specific issues like the environment. So we kind of wanted to give this opportunity for more HDSB students to get involved in Senate initiatives. And we felt that by opening up the subcommittees, we can get more general and broader consultation from HDSB students. And it also gives our senators an opportunity to talk to other people in the board. Again, we're still in the planning phases of this, and we'll consult with our new student senate before opening the door to more students. Lastly, based on feedback from last year's Senate, we'll be focusing on collaboratively setting Senate norms and values with our new student Senate. This will be the focus of our first meeting, and we hope that this session is an opportunity for us to create a set of values and principles alongside our senators as well as our staff members and trustees so that we can ensure that we collaboratively cultivate a positive, equitable, and inclusive environment. And we've also asked for some support and guidance from Superintendent Etoff and his department for this norm setting session, and hopefully we can work with his team on conducting this. And lastly, while we're virtual, we will be including all senators. So if a school has senators that alternate, and let's say one senator goes to the first meeting and the second senator goes to the second meeting, we're just including both of them because we're virtual, space permits. As long as space permits virtually and logistically it works out, we will be including all student reps for that school. Thank you, and I'll pass it over to Trustee Bao to talk about our agenda for the first meeting.
Thank you, Trustee Whittle-Ankara. So our first Student Senate meeting is on Tuesday, October 19th from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. The elementary session will take place from 6 to 7 p.m. The joint session with both elementary and secondary school senators will be from 7 to 8 p.m. And then the secondary session will take place from 8 to 9 p.m. The meeting will be held virtually through Google Meet. Trustees are welcome to attend, and we are so glad to have Director Ennis, Associate Director Bogue, and System Principal for Equity, Shalita Walker, join us. We know that the senators are very eager to get to meet them. We will begin with attendance, icebreakers, and introductions, and then the senators will have the opportunity to engage in a Q&A session with Director Ennis in the joint session. We found that last year the senators really enjoyed getting to talk to the Director of Education. During the individual sessions, we will be running the norm-setting sessions. Trustee Whittle-Ankara and I are also setting up a Google Classroom for this year's Senate and tracking all the nominated senators into a spreadsheet with the help of VP Louisa Vitello and VP Ryan Henderson. Additionally, we have also created a social media post for our Student Senate Instagram account to promote joining Senate. Ms. Vitello will be helping me later next week with setting up the Google Meet invitations for our Senate meetings. Thank you for listening to our report, and we're happy to answer any questions or comments you may have.
Thank you. Looking to the speakers list. Trustee Shuttleworth, go right ahead.
Thank you. Through you, Chair, probably to both Trustee Whittle-Ankara, Trustee Bao, and Associate Director Bogue. You were speaking about including the Community Pathways programs with your Senate. Now, I know a couple of years ago, prior to virtual meetings, you also reached out to Gary Allen. Have you done so again? And are you considering, if you've not, are you considering doing so?
I can take that question through the chair to Trustee Shuttleworth. We will be reaching out to Gary Allen if they do not send us nominate a senator before the October 15th deadline. Last year, I think we did reach out to them. This year, we thought we'd wait and see if they put forward a name for a student. And if they don't, we will reach out to them.
Thank you, because I do know that Principal Taylor appreciated the opportunity a couple of years ago to try and engage her students. So thank you.
Okay, there are no other speakers at this time. Looking forward to hearing how Senate works this year, and with the increased popularity, I suppose, of wanting to be a senator. Congratulations on that. And actually, I do have a question. Since you're allowing multiple reps from school, how are you going to manage if you're going to have a vote to make sure that a school is not voting more than once?
Through the chair to the chair. I should probably provide some more information. So typically a school that has a high school, for example, that has a population of, or I'll say a school that has a population of over 1,000, an elementary school, is able to send 2 student senate representatives. However, a school with less than that can only send 1. So if there's 2 students at a school that's relatively small that are representing their school, although they will be alternating meetings, or maybe they'll come to the meeting together, they would still only have 1 vote. So they'd have to probably decide, like, for that meeting, I'm the one that's voting, and for the next meeting, you're the one that's voting. So the voting would still remain the same, unless we look into reviewing that this year, which I don't, maybe we will, but for now, the voting stays the same. But participation, everyone's included.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Always an excellent report. We are now up to action items for October the 20th, our next board meeting, and we have the long-term accommodation plan, report 21111, and this was submitted by Executive Officer Gadet, and I'm assuming also General Manager Thibault. Go right ahead.
Through the chair, I'd like to invite Executive Officer Gadet and or our General Manager Thibault to make the report on the long-term accommodation plan.
Thank you. Good evening, General Manager Thibault. I think you were speaking, but we couldn't hear you.
How about now?
That's better.
I might have swiped at my wire. Apologies. To you, Chair Gerbens. So just a quick little update tonight with regards to the report. Our survey portal closed as of today. We received a total of 298 responses from our parent community. So thank you to the community for reviewing the materials and providing responses. We're currently in the process of collating that information and preparing a presentation for next week's Committee of the Whole meeting, where we'll give you a more fulsome view as to the survey results and some of the themes that we pulled out from those responses. Afterwards, we'll be coming back, as was pointed out, to the October 20th meeting for approval of the 2020-2021 long-term accommodation plan. As well, we will also be bringing forward the boundary review report for that evening as well. Happy to take any further questions.
Looking to the speakers list. Yeah, I'm seeing none. But I'm going to say that I'm very impressed with the amount of feedback coming from the community. Great work for getting the word out to take a look. And looking forward to hearing about a summary of that in the future. But there are no speakers, and thank you very much. I just want to point out to the community that we had a session about the long-term accommodation plan at the Committee of the Whole meeting last week, and this was also brought to a former Committee of the Whole board meeting as well. So trustees have had lots of opportunity to ask questions to General Manager Thibault about the long-term accommodation plan. So looking forward to seeing this again on the 20th. Thank you very much. Okay, next up is bylaw revisions, board meeting dates, report 21125, and this is presented by Trustees Rocha and Collard. Would either one of you like to speak to this?
I would, please.
Yes, thank you. Could you turn up your volume or go a little closer to your microphone? Just because you sound like you're off in the distance.
Is it better now?
Not a lot better, no.
How about if I talk really loud?
Yes, please use your diaphragm. That is excellent.
Okay, thank you. Through the chairs to the trustees, the motion we have brought forth tonight is a motion that originally started in June to review our bylaws with respect to the scheduling of board meetings. We met at the Committee of the Whole last week to discuss possible wording, and we seemed to reach some consensus. And with that in mind, we wrote the motion that's presented before you tonight to amend the bylaws. The two outcomes that came with the amendment of the wording was that there was more clarity provided as to when the school year began. Was it the first Wednesday of September, or was it the first Wednesday after Labor Day? And we also defined clarity on vacation, and that we've clarified that vacation is for students. So with that in mind, the wording presented was that the board meetings would be scheduled on the first Wednesday after Labor Day. However, if a meeting is ever needed during a school vacation period for students, we could adhere to our bylaws as they are currently written, and we could call for a special board meeting. So with that, if there's, I'm going to turn to Trustee Collard in case she'd like to add any additional information to the report.
I think you did a great job, so I'll just leave it like that.
Okay, thank you, Trustee Collard. So I'll open the floor if anybody wants to discuss further.
Looking to the speakers list, we had quite a discussion at Committee of the Whole, so I'm not surprised that the speakers list isn't packed or anything. Vice Chair Al Harrison, though, is going to say something. Go right ahead.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair. I support this. My question is, what is the path forward for additional reviews, such as to amend the section that states shall be held at the head office, which doesn't reflect the current reality either?
Trustee Collard, go right ahead.
Yes, we should be reviewing our bylaws in a regular cycle. The last time the bylaws were passed in whole was approximately 3 years ago, so they are due to be revised, and we should add that to our governance committee schedule. Absolutely. Thanks for the reminder on that, Vice Chair Al Harrison.
Okay, there are no other speakers on the speakers list, so we will see this again on the 20th. And this is just a reminder for our community that some of our items do come to our board table 2 times. Things like bylaw revisions, policies, the long-term accommodation plan, school namings, things like that do come twice. Other things come only a single time. Trustee Rocha, go right ahead. You have something to say?
Yes, through you, Chair. I was wondering, seeing as how this is the second time that this motion's been put forth to the board, once last week at Committee of the Whole, and again tonight, would it be possible to waive the rules, have a vote on this evening to avoid coming back a third time to the board?
Yeah. So the unfortunately, Committee of the Whole doesn't count as being at our board table. The reason that we do that is so that because our community is more attuned to our board meetings as opposed to our Committee of the Whole meetings, it allows for that 2-week time for any feedback from the community. And I do encourage, if the community is interested in providing feedback, to please contact your local trustee to bring those comments forward. Also, people can delegate. We do have a delegation governance procedure available.
Okay, thank you.
But you can make the motion to try and waive the rules. I suspect it won't pass.
I'll refrain from making that motion.
Okay. Okay, so we're moving up to information items for this evening. We have 461 Operational Plan 2020-2021 End of Year Update Report 21120. This was submitted by Associate Director Bogue. Go right ahead.
Thanks, Madam Chair. It's my pleasure to provide a report on our operational plan from last year. I think trustees have seen this plan come forward each year. Just a few comments about last year. We're in an unusual year, obviously. We didn't do the kind of professional development that we would do in a normal year. It was a year where we really tried to restrain from pulling teachers outside of class because of some difficulty in attracting supply teachers and things like that to cover classes. It was also an opportunity for us to really rethink how we did our staff learning, and so we learned to be creative and to use technology. So we were able to accomplish a fair bit. The successes are highlighted on the appendix there for your perusal. And this, as usual, was a group effort. I want to thank all of the superintendents and their departments for the work that they did do last year. And this was a group effort, and we'd all be happy to answer any specific questions that trustees might have.
Thank you very much, Associate Director Bogue. Looking to the speakers list, see if there are any questions. It's quite a comprehensive report you've given us. Seeing no speakers, thank you very much for your very robust report. So we will move on to notices of motion. Are there any notices of motion? Looking to the speakers list. Seeing none, we are now up to the director's report. Director Ennis, go right ahead.
Thank you and good evening through you, Chair. The director's report this evening, I have a few items, and I just want to start by saying on September the 30th, students and staff of the Halton District School Board joined the entire country in the inaugural Truth and Reconciliation Day. Schools right across our system engaged in reflections and learning about Indigenous peoples. There were moving ceremonies, system messages, social media engagement, and many more points of contact on this issue, all in an effort to illuminate the impacts of residential schools, honor survivors, and to ensure we commemorate the history and legacy of residential schools as a vital component of the reconciliation process. We are continuously reminded of our key commitment to Indigenous perspectives and awareness. We also want to remind families and the board that Reorganization Day starts on October the 12th. We anticipate many families and students will be impacted as we adjust our numbers to be in compliance with ministry legislated benchmarks. I know that administrators did their very best to reduce the impact and have the least disruption in their reorganization. Despite these efforts, we know the impact will be felt on an individual basis. Disruption to friendships and relationships are never easy, and we acknowledge that and ask for your understanding in working through your concerns with your local school administrators. Associate Director Bogue and I, in concert with our entire senior team, continue to lead in a very visible way in support of our staff, families, and students by being in schools and board facilities as often as we can. What has clearly emerged is that our schools have incredible leaders who are creating conditions for students to thrive academically, emotionally, and socially while leading through a pandemic. To them, we say thank you. This week, Associate Director Bogue and I visited the Welcome Center, and I'd like to highlight for you a conversation we had with a college student who is currently doing her placement at the center. She told us that the center was so supportive of her and her family when they arrived in Canada. The staff ensured that they had housing, that they had technology, and so much more. She said, "They gave me everything, and that allowed me to breathe." The emotion with which she spoke truly conveyed her gratitude. The Welcome Center is often the first introduction to our board, and I want to acknowledge the staff for being such great ambassadors. At this time, I'd like to ask our Superintendent of Human Resources, Taha, to speak to vaccination compliance reporting.
Good evening. Thank you, Director Ennis, through you, Chair Gerbrands, to the rest of trustees. A quick update with respect to our progress in implementing the direction of the Chief Medical Officer of Public Health to implement a vaccination disclosure procedure. We continue to implement this procedure with respect to data collection in terms of immunization status. We also continue to implement the requirements with respect to rapid testing participation. And finally, we continue to be in compliance with ministry reporting requirements on a weekly basis and a monthly basis. You will notice today on the board website that we published the October 1st numbers that were reported to the ministry last Friday. What I'd like to share with you today is a quick update on those numbers. The numbers I will share with you at this time will be slightly different than the numbers posted on the website, as they are more up to date. They reflect today's numbers. So again, in terms of the total number of individuals that this immunization disclosure requirement applies to is 10,024 employees. To date, we have had 9,203 employees respond. That's a response rate of 91.8%. Of those who responded, 8,689 employees affirmed that they are fully vaccinated, which is a percentage of 94.4% of those who responded. And of those who responded, 492 individuals affirmed that they are not fully vaccinated, which is 5.3%. And we have up to, and as of now, we have 821 incomplete attestations. So these numbers, if you have a photographic memory, continue to improve from each report. We continue to head in the right direction with respect to vaccination percentages and the number of completions in terms of unknown status. What I'd like to share with you also is, as recently as Monday evening, late Monday evening, new reporting requirements were communicated to the board, to Director Ennis and others in the province, and to senior HR officials. Of note, we are required as of next week, as of October 15th, to report to the ministry on two key things that differ from what we had been reporting originally. One, we have to provide to the ministry and to the public a breakdown of the attestation data in terms of permanent employees and casual employees. So at this time, you will see on the board website that all these numbers are aggregated as one cohort of employees. As of Friday, October 15th, those numbers have to be broken down to permanent employees and casual employees, which will provide a bit more context behind the numbers. Secondly, and of significance in my opinion, and requires revisions to our systems and revisions to our administrative procedure with respect to the immunization disclosure, we are now also required to ask employees if they received one dose of a vaccine and or if they received 2 doses of the vaccine, whether the 14-day period has passed. In other words, we are asking employees questions with respect to whether they are fully vaccinated or partially vaccinated, which is a new requirement, which requires another communication campaign to our staff, to our employees. Finally, we continue to monitor the compliance in rapid testing requirements. We spent the last couple of weeks working through the supply chain and the logistics of delivering these kits. We can say with confidence that this week, most, if not all of our employees should have these kits and should have the kits available for them to participate in rapid testing. So we will see at the end of this week what this picture looks like. And next week will be more telling with respect to our compliance and progressive responses. So I'm happy to say that we're in a good spot in terms of compliance, in terms of numbers going and heading in the right direction. And we will see how our rapid testing efforts look like next week. And I'm happy to answer any of your questions.
Thank you very much, Superintendent Taha. I'm looking to the speakers list. And Trustee Shuttleworth has jumped on. Go right ahead.
Thank you. Through you, Chair, to Superintendent Taha. You spoke of compliance now that we are giving the rapid tests directly to our teacher. Do we have any idea how the rapid testing compliance was when they had to go to the pharmacy? Do we know?
We, through you, thank you, Trustee Shuttleworth, through you, Chair Gerbens, to Trustee Shuttleworth, through the rest of the board trustees, we had advised our employees to keep a log and a record of their participation with the pharmacy, participating pharmacies, those who offered rapid testing. I will say that the efforts were, average at best in terms of pharmacies being in the know in terms of that these rapid testing kits are to be provided for free. We've had issues with employees telling us that the pharmacies were not aware of these, of these initiatives by the government. So we in terms of requesting employees to log their data in terms of testing that they've completed with the pharmacy, we've asked them to hold on to this data, and it may be required. But in terms of logging the testing moving forward, it will only be required for the rapid testing kits that we've delivered to employees. So it'll be on a go-forward basis. we may require them from an audit perspective in terms of compliance and our efforts to ensure compliance.
Do you have a follow-up?
Yes. So how are we confirming that the tests are being used? And again, another, and I don't know, and being used by the person who's supposed to be taking it?
Through you, Chair Gerbens, to Trustee Shuttleworth and the rest of trustees, as I pointed out in previous board meetings, the testing regime is an honor system. It's an attestation that you and only you have administered this test in accordance to the instructions, and that the results that you're submitting to us, whether it's the date of the test and then the screenshot that you will be uploading, is yours. If employees will resort to other means, we don't expect that, and we trust our employees will do the right thing. But it would be difficult to immediately flag these sort of irregularities. There are a few things that we've asked our employees to do with respect to rapid testing in terms of labeling the kits and ensuring that it's a unique identifier. But nonetheless, ultimately, it's the honor system, as these tests are not being administered by another professional or in the presence of a camera or anything to that effect.
And just quickly on that, so you spoke of those screenshots. Is that a requirement so that we know they're taking the tests?
Yes, through you, Chair Gerbens, to Trustee Shuttleworth, to the rest of the trustees. Yes, the platform that we have released to our employees requires them to enter the test date, the test results, and upload a proof of a negative test result. So they will be uploading pictures, and these kits will have to be labeled by on each test date.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. There are no speakers, so I have a couple of questions. The first is that, do we know what the approximate cost will be for adjusting our human resources information system to account for this new change as per the ministry for vaxxed versus partially vaxxed? And then if you could answer that, I do have some follow-up.
Through you, Chair Gerbens, to you, Chair Gerbens, and rest of trustees. I don't have an exact cost for this, but it will add to the larger cost of reconfiguring and enhancing the human resources information system and adding the functionality for the attestation, for the data collection. Typically, this enhancement is probably 2 days worth of work for the vendor. And usually these vendors, these rates range anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000 a day.
Okay, thank you. And the questions that I have, so great to see the improvement up to 94.4% of our employees that have actually attested are vaxxed. That's great news. Now we do have, when you lump in all those that have not attested yet, it does look like it's only 86 or so percent. And I know that is out on social media, criticisms to boards, including our own, that it feels like the vaccination rate is lower. So, which is eroding confidence in the public education system. And so I was wondering how do we, I mean, it's been a month since the deadline for doing this attestation for our employees. Increasing attestation and having accurate data around vaccination is really important. What are we doing to ensure compliance by our employees?
Thank you, Chair Gerbens. Through you, to you, Chair Gerbens, and the rest of the trustees. The recent disaggregation of the data by the Ministry of Education, I think, will provide a clearer picture as to the lay of the land in terms of our board and our vaccination rates. So given that we are now required to disaggregate the data, what I can share with you, through in a positive light, that while 86%, only 86%, well, almost 87% of our staff, given the baseline number of 10,000, have attested or affirmed that they're fully vaccinated, what I can say is that of the unvaccinated attestations, 3.7% are employees who are considered permanent employees. So you can say that these numbers are the permanent employees unvaccinated rates are less than 4%, which is an excellent number. And the employees who have failed to complete the attestation, permanent employees, is only 0.6%. So in terms of permanent employees with the board who identify directly as employees of the board, attestation rates and vaccination rates are very positive. Now back to your question with respect to what are we doing to ensure compliance, given that this thing has been launched almost a month ago. Ultimately, in our toolbox are a few things that we can do. Those who have not completed the attestation are considered unvaccinated, so we will continue to monitor their compliance in terms of participation in rapid testing and take the action that's required if they fail to comply. I would say that given the percentage of staff who are unvaccinated or haven't attested on the casual side, we know from other attestation exercises we run in this board that some of these employees are not working for us. In other words, while they are supply staff, they may be working somewhere else, and eventually, through the progressive response process, they will be assigned on a leave of absence. So essentially, those in your board, those are working for us, have more or less fully complied with the requirements and are fully vaccinated. So the picture will become clearer as we move ahead in the next couple of weeks.
Okay, thank you very much. Director Ennis, I've had a number of requests for a recess. If we could take a 5-minute recess before we go on to your next topic.
Through the chair, I would be happy to grant that.
Thank you. Okay, so we shall return at 9:20. Thank you. Everybody, Director Ennis, you can continue with your director's report.
Thank you, Chair. And through you at this time, I would just like to invite Superintendent Blackwell to speak on rapid antigen testing.
Good evening, everyone. Through the chair, I was able to, on behalf of the board, meet with my coterminous representative yesterday for public health, or this morning, actually. It seems like such a long time ago. The announcement yesterday around rapid antigen tests in schools, we are working with our public health units to clarify what it is and what it's not. And so broad testing using the rapid antigen tests is really not the recommendation in schools. It should be used in specific regions where COVID rates are higher, and obviously looking at different criteria. We are working with our public health unit. They are working across the province in the thinking and planning stage. There is a working group that is working with the Ministry of Health and looking at what that specific criteria will look like. And they hope to have that finalized next week. So it would be including level of virus transmission, vaccination rate in the community. We do know, and as shared with us this morning through public health again, as a reminder, that asymptomatic testing is really valuable when case counts in the community are about 100 per 100,000. And at this time in Halton, we are at 20 to 22 cases per 100,000. So our schools in Halton don't meet the criteria that are presently laid out with respect to the rapid antigen tests. Like Halton Public Region, other health units do not intend on using unless there are significant criteria that are met. So, for example, where there's a school closure, how these tests may be used would be to give the test in a school closure and then returning students to ensure there are not any leftover cases. One of the things to be noted is that it is asymptomatic testing, so it is not for high-risk individuals that have been identified by public health. Also, that the testing would not be for vaccinated students or staff. So at this point, rapid antigen tests have really low utility in our schools, according to our public health unit. We do have lots of alternatives and effective strategies that have been working well to minimize our transmission. One of the things we will be sharing a letter, I believe tomorrow or Friday, from Halton Region Public Health with some guidance for our communities around holidays, upcoming holiday seasons. We have many holidays coming up. We have Thanksgiving, we have Diwali, and we'd ask families to read the guidance carefully and continue to keep our community, our schools safe and reflective of the community in which we serve.
Thank you very much. Looking to the speakers list to see if there are any questions from my colleagues. Seeing none, I'd just like to thank you very much for this information. We have been, trustees have been receiving a lot of emails around rapid testing from parents, anxious to be able to contribute to stamping out, getting rid of COVID in the community. And your explanation is helpful and hopefully provides some comfort to families that these rapid tests will be used when necessary. You know, we all want to move forward on this. So I know that our public health is working very hard to support both all the school systems in Halton, and appreciate the work that you're doing as well, interacting with them. Director Ennis, do you have any more items?
Thank you. Through the chair, that concludes the director's report for this evening.
Okay, so we're up to communication from the chair, and as I just mentioned, we've been getting a lot of communication about rapid testing. We have received communication, as you can see in our agenda. A number of boards have written letters concerning various topics. We sent a letter actually that was in our last package around adding COVID as a designated disease to the Immunization of School Pupils Act. And we have yet to hear back from either the Minister of Education or the Minister of Health on that, though I was disappointed to hear through the media that the Minister of Education has decided not to make COVID vaccines mandatory for students and it was reported as per the advice of the Ontario Chief Medical Officer of Health. I actually question whether the Chief Medical Officer of Health has read the Immunization of School Pupils Act, as adding COVID as a designated disease does not make it truly mandatory, as in, if you don't get the jab, you can't come to school. It is, if you don't get the jab, you get educated. There are exemptions in the Act. And as I said, it does layer on an educational component if parents decide not to vaccinate their children. And right now that component is missing, and it allows parents to simply do nothing, which enables hesitancy. I would like to actually make a motion to forward the letter that we sent to the two ministers regarding the Immunization of School Pupils Act to be also sent to the Ontario Chief Medical Officer of Health, Dr. Moore. So I'm going to pass the gavel to Vice Chair Al Harrison, which will be interesting in the current.
I can just do it from here.
Okay, let's go right ahead.
Thank you very much. Okay, so there is a motion on the floor to forward the letter to Chief Medical Officer of Health for Ontario. Is there a seconder for that motion? Thank you, Trustee Oliver. Is there a speakers list? Would anybody like to speak to that motion? Okay, I don't see anybody. Yeah, okay. Trustee Oliver, go ahead.
Okay, thank you, through you, Chair. So the purpose of the Act is to ensure that students receive the necessary immunization. That's to increase the protection of health of children against the disease, against the designated diseases. So if COVID-19 was a designated disease, it would therefore be the duty of the parents and guardians to ensure that their students fulfill that immunization schedule. That also, I believe, gives the right to public health to then verify that the vaccination had in fact taken place, as we see currently being done with the sharing of records in terms of which students have not been vaccinated against the designated diseases. Those students are then, there's the ability for the medical officer of health via the school board to suspend them from the school system. So I think that actually is a very effective tool. And I'm in support of sending the letter and pressing for that to be the case. Thank you.
Thank you. There are no other speakers on the speakers list, so I would like to call the vote, please.
In favor, Trustee Gray.
Sorry, through the chair, I'm unable to put myself on the speakers list.
Oh, I'm sorry. May we please cancel the vote unless there's any point of orders that would like to speak to that? Hearing none, go ahead, Trustee Rocha. And I will pause after your question just to make sure there's no others in a similar situation. Go ahead.
Thank you. Through the chair, to the chair, I'm looking for some clarification. are you asking that we resend the same letter, or are we rewriting the letter to add some clarity?
This is actually just CCing the letter to the Ontario Chief Medical Officer of Health.
May I have a follow-up?
Yes.
Okay, so if we're gonna send the letter to the Chief Medical Officer, I thought I heard you say that they don't understand our request to make COVID a designated disease it's not truly making it mandatory. So if they don't understand that concept, should we not add clarification to help them understand it before we forward it to them?
The letter, actually, reading it, is quite clear at kind of pointing that out. So I think personally that the Ontario Chief Medical Officer of Health has not read the Act and hasn't bothered. The way that the social media, or not social media, it was actually a reporter with, I believe, Global News, announced that the minister would not be making the vaccination for students mandatory as per the advice of the Ontario Chief Medical Officer of Health. And our letter clearly states the reasons why we would want this added. And it clearly states that the education portion is missing. And I don't think that the Chief Medical Officer of Health, I'm sure he's quite busy, but I think that the government may be, I'm going to be unkind here, maybe confusing the issue of mandatory versus adding it to the ISPA, because mandatory does sound like if you don't get a vaccination, you're not allowed to go to school, and that is not what is part of the Act. The Act allows for exemptions. It allows for exemptions if you get educated. And that's what's missing. So we're very clear in our letter about that. And I think that if the medical officer of health actually read our letter, he may adjust his advice.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
Thank you. Are there any other speakers at this time? So I'm just holding some space for people who can't use the tech is not working. Anybody?
Affirmative. Trustee Garretts.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll move to the vote then. Go ahead. Okay, we have some already. We have Trustee Garretts.
Affirmative, Trustee Gray.
Okay. Trustee Daniele. Okay, that motion carries. We haven't, good. Yep, that carries unanimously then. Thank you very much. I will pass the gavel back to Chair Gerbents.
Thank you very much, Vice Chair Harrison. Okay, so we are now up to committee reports. Are there any committee reports this evening?
I have two.
You have two. Is this Trustee Garretts? Yes, go right ahead.
Okay. Bear with me here for a second. The first committee report I have is for the Human Rights and Equity Advisory Committee. It's a new committee, and we've had 3 meetings. We haven't had that much to report. And when I say we, it's Trustee Amos and I sit on this newly created committee. And for the first 3 meetings, we've really been sort of setting the stage and the foundation so that we can get down to some work. I'm just going to put on my glasses here. Nancy Rowe opened up the meetings as the Indigenous Inherent Rights holder and treaty partner. There was extensive introduction of the committee members and getting to know one another for the first and part of the second meeting. There are 8 community members, 2 HDSB staff members at large, Superintendent of Indigenous Ed, Human Rights and Equity, and Human Rights and Equity Resources, 2 trustees, this Assistant Principal of Indigenous Ed, and the Human Rights and Equity, read that twice. After the second meeting, the terms of reference had been established. And last week's meeting, September 28th, that was 2 weeks ago, the co-chair discussion happened. Superintendent Rob Etoff is one of the co-chairs, and we were going to choose one other community member to assist as co-chair, and 2 great members from the community put their hands up and volunteered. So in the interest of keeping the committee sort of fluid at this point, Sebastian Nguyen and Kimberly Cato are going to work together as co-chairs with Superintendent Etoff. Last week, we introduced the board's year plan and sharing the way forward with the group. And Superintendent Etoff proposed that we have comprehensive data from the survey that's going out with the way forward, or from the way forward, to help with the work of the committee. Our next meeting is November 23rd, I believe, and I will be submitting this in writing to Manager Baker. And the next committee report will be done with myself and Trustee Vice Chair L. Harrison. The SEAC meeting happened last night, and it was held virtually and live streamed for the public. SEAC received a presentation from the wellness team, who shared the mental health practices and supports are being used with the JK to 12 classrooms. The teams are supporting what they refer to as circles of support, actively engaging parents, school staff, students, and the community agencies. The summer mental health programs offered a variety of group sessions to support students' mental health and well-being. There were 55 different groups. Many were from grades 7 to 12. However, there were also some group sessions that targeted grades 4 to 6 students. And students joined virtually from over 100 schools, which is incredible. The data that was collected about the summer program showed there was success in the group sessions, and students found the strategies taught to be useful, and joining groups online were more comfortable than in-person sessions, which we found very interesting. The bulk of the work of our wellness team is in secondary schools. A lot of students needed a check-in during the last school year by our social workers, and the staff in both elementary and secondary panels indicated that support needs this year are much higher and sooner, and happening much sooner than in previous years with COVID, I guess. There's currently no wait list for social work and child youth counselor support. Shall I pass it over to you, Trustee L. Harrison?
Sure. Thanks very much, Trustee Garretts. SEAC had a short discussion to just revisit the minority reports received last June from 2 associations regarding the plan, the annual plan, and it was encouraged that associations engage in early and specific discussion about the challenges with the proposed spec ed plan so that issues can be understood and addressed for better outcomes. Because, ideally at the end of the day, we'd be in a position to unanimously support that plan. There was also a discussion about how students diagnosed with ADHD are accommodated within the existing IEP process. Despite ADHD not being designated by the ministry, and that discussion will continue and SEAC actions determined as necessary. Superintendent Ruddock's report is linked in our trustee report. It contains lots of great information, updates regarding new member training that's taking place next week, wait times for speech language and psych ed assessments, which is approximately 9 to 12 months currently, elementary reorganization, which we heard about tonight, and the Canadian Cognitive Abilities Test, which starts this month for grade 4 families or students, and being identified as a mentor board for Project Search, which is something quite great. The next SEAC meeting will take place on November 2nd, and we're happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you very much. I don't see any questions at this time unless Trustee Collard has a question specifically about this, because she is on the speakers list, but I suspect it's about another committee. Trustee Collard, go right ahead.
Thank you. I'm bringing the report from the audit committee. We had our first meeting of the school year last Tuesday. And at that meeting, we had an awesome report from our regional intern audit manager. It was her final meeting with us. She was retiring, but on her way out the door, she managed to put together an awesome report showing a number of closed audit notes that had been on the books for a few months. So that was wonderful to see. We also received a 7-month report from Deloitte and had a lot of really good, rich dialogue about the contents of that report. The agenda and reports for our meetings are publicly posted on our website, and our next meeting is November the 9th.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. And the next speaker is Trustee Daniele.
Thank you very much. Very briefly, I sent out the notes from the September 22nd Board of Directors meeting for the Ontario Public School Board Association. It's a very fulsome report with a lot of information in there. I know that there have been some questions around the equity, diversity, and inclusion audit, and I believe that Trustee Gray is trying to find a way to separate that report out from the package and disseminate it to trustees. I would also remind you that you would have hopefully received an invite from Carla Garbus to the regional meeting for November 6th, Saturday, November 6th from 9 to 12. This is a very important one because we're going to be discussing Project Compass, which is looking at all facets of the Ontario Public School Board Association and changes that need to be made structurally and constitutionally. So I'd strongly encourage anybody who can to please attend.
Thank you very much. And there are no other speakers at this time. So we are going to move on to trustee questions and comments. Please add yourself to the speakers list. Vice Chair Al Harrison, go right ahead.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair. I was wondering, how is the HDSB supporting new teachers and all teachers with professional development during this time?
Through Chair Gerbentz to Trustee Vice Chair Al Harrison. It's my first time doing this. Thank you for the question. My portfolio includes leadership and staff development, and we are getting very close to rolling out a myriad of opportunities for our NTIP teachers, which we're very excited about. NTIP standing for a New Teacher Induction Program. This year, because we've had a bit of a hiatus in some professional development opportunities, I've created a steering committee for both leadership, professional development, and then a separate one for NTIP to ask some of the folks throughout our board what they think we've been missing. What should we keep that's been fantastic, that they've had great experiences with? Where have the holes been that we need to offer more opportunities? And then who has some wonderful, innovative ideas to help our staff? We are getting very close to having those steering committees completed, and then we'll put together a catalog of opportunities that come from that group. And there's also a list of best professional development practices that they've listed. The groups consist of almost every employee group across the board and a really strong equity lens. So it was an application process to be on the steering committee. Things are coming up like making sure the mentors are trained very well, making sure that the mentor and the mentee have time together early on in the year to actually book time and not just assume that those questions will come naturally. Talking about the first year or two in communication with parents and how to make that as effective as possible, how to manage report cards and what's the best practice for assessment, and building the relationships in the class, along with some of the specific to this year COVID issues about looking at assessment after COVID and closing gaps and supporting kids in that way. So those are a few of the things we're looking at, and there'll be a lot of opportunities coming out in about a month.
Thank you.
Okay, next is Trustee Shuttleworth. Go right ahead.
Thank you, through you, Chair. I'm going to guess this might be for Superintendent Proto again. But I have been having many questions from the Nelson community regarding sports. So I know I have talked to you about a couple of these, but I think it would be beneficial to bring this out in public. There have been 3 areas of concern. The junior sports team playing times, the opportunities for them to play other teams, parents being able to watch their children's games. One of the parents I've spoken to who worked with Hamilton says that they have a system that allows parents to go to the games. And then finally, what was the third one? I'll have to remember it, but those are the first 2. Start with those 2, please. So just really, if you can outline sort of the board's response to parents watching and junior opportunities to play.
Thank you. And I know a lot of the questions were originally Nelson, but I'll leave it to Superintendent Barnes and Superintendent Salmini because it's really a system issue, and those 2 have been delving into that system-wide.
Through you, Chair, through to Trustee Shuttleworth. I'll make a few comments and Superintendent Salmini can add on. I do know that we did relook at all co-curricular activities, and one barrier to participation to some clubs and sports teams were they didn't have competition. So we did allow exhibition games within Halton a few weeks ago, and more recently we added on the opportunity for teams and clubs to come to play competitions in Halton. So that could be robotics, it could be bands, it could be sports teams. So that is now allowable. The comment about the indoor spectators, again, it's a situation where whole board has taken a decision at this point in time, only to allow sports players and referees in the games. I was aware of the Hamilton situation. Catholic, it's a bit different because their players have to show proof of double vaccination. So I'll stop there and let Superintendent Salmini speak.
Thank you. Through the chair to Trustee Shuttleworth, I don't have very much to add. Thank you, Superintendent Barnes, other than our real commitment has been to making sure that we can get co-curriculars going for our students, and really wanting to do that in a safe and cautious way to ensure that we can continue with those activities. And so that's the rationale for some of our decision making as well.
Trustee Shuttleworth, have you remembered?
Thank you. I have remembered my other one, but it wasn't actually for sports, so I can ask it, but it's a little bit of a different question. So I don't know if you want me to go back on the speakers list or ask it. Anyway, it is around programming.
Go right ahead.
Okay, so my other question is, I was asked by a parent about the outdoor ed program for students in high school. So what they are concerned about is that students are signing up for this outdoor ed program and originally had been promised a breadth of activities to do outside of the school. However, now they are in the situation that there are now limitations on what activities they can engage in, because if the activities are asking for proof of vaccination, the school board cannot allow the children to go to that place. So my question really is as businesses and activities continue to broaden this proof of vaccination status, will we re-examine what activities the kids at the schools are allowed to do?
Thank you for the question through the chair to Trustee Shuttleworth. So that is true. We've asked our staff to really look for opportunities where status is not being asked for in order to maintain equity of opportunity for our students. Having said that, for programs where it's integral to the program, like some of our specialist high skills majors, we are looking right now to create a different maybe type of process in terms of booking if a suitable place is not found for those students in those courses. So we're working on it, but we are asking that they try to find places where the students will not be asked for vaccination status at this time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So Trustee Collard, go right ahead.
Thank you. Yes, I had a question from a member of the public regarding the number of students who have opted to switch from virtual to in-person and vice versa for both elementary and secondary panel.
Director Ennis?
Thank you. Through the chair, I believe that Superintendent Blackwell will have some information on that.
Thank you.
Through the chair to Trustee Collard, we, as you are probably aware, we sent an email to families this evening reminding them that there is a reorganization that usually happens in September. We've moved it to align with the change in model requests for families. So we are looking at quite a few moves in our schools, from virtual to in-person learning for elementary. So this is kindergarten to grade 8, 572 students. And then moving from in-person to virtual, we have 480 students. So there are a lot of changes that are coming into play, again, for students starting Tuesday. Schools will be reaching out to families. We know that there will be families that didn't request a change and will be part of a reorganization. And schools are really working hard to support all the changes for kids. It's change for staff as well. And then secondary, we will be looking at an opportunity for semester 2, and that information will be coming out closer to the end, I guess the beginning of November. So families secondary will have that.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Vice Chair Al Harrison.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair. It feels like we talk a lot about kind of the here and now and reacting and sorting the current scenario out. And the pandemic, I've heard and seen that while a lot of it has been not the best, that there have been some positive things that out of necessity, school boards, people in general have done. And I understand that for some students, the virtual school is really working very well for them, for their learning style, for their health needs, and so on. And I wonder whether there's been any longer term thinking about whether the HDSB will, in addition to the e-courses, which we've had for quite a long time, but whether we will keep a virtual school of some sort, and it may require funding. But if there's anything that trustees can do to support that advocacy piece, if it is a funding challenge, I would like to get started on that sooner than later. Thank you.
Director Ennis?
Thank you for that, Vice Chair L. Harrison. Certainly we want to capitalize on the learnings that we've had over the last year and a half that will enhance the learning experience for our students and families. I'm going to ask Superintendent Newton if she could speak to this, and also Associate Director Bogue might want to add as well.
Thank you, Director Ennis, and through the chair to Trustee L. Harrison. Thank you for your support for all students, and we know that some students learn better in person and some learn better in a virtual world. Gary Allen, the creation of Gary Allen Learning Centers has always tried to look at alternative ways to meet all students' needs as well. And we have been, since last spring, looking at prototyping what a virtual school could be post-pandemic as a post-pandemic response, and then developing an identity through that. So our senior team has been engaged in a number of conversations. We've been engaged with the corporate side as well in terms of what's the feasibility in terms of funding. And we've studied it from a secondary lens and an elementary lens, and we've had a number of studies through Rotman as well, talking with our kids in focus groups about what they liked and what they didn't like about virtual learning in its form. So that's where we're at right now, and it is a dialogue piece, but we also recognize the pressures of critical path and hiring and those types of pieces. So it is coming to a quick conversation for sure down the road, but we believe it is beyond us, and it really is at a code level with ministry input and Superintendent Ngoy's lens as well for funding. Thank you.
Do you have a follow-up? Oh, David, go right ahead.
Thanks, Chair Grebench. If I may just add, I think Superintendent Newton has described it really well. Like we see a value there. We see a group of kids that would really benefit from that virtual environment. The challenge is really around how we do our record keeping and what's allowable by the ministry. So in terms of what register the kids are on, our kids are in general are on a day school register, or for e-learning, it's a different register. And then virtual doesn't really have a place except during the pandemic. Right now, the ministry has given us permission to do that. So I think we're still kind of waiting to see whether we can be creative or whether the ministry will put something out. I think other boards are going to be in the same circumstance as well, where we really see a niche for a group of kids here that would be really well served.
Follow-up?
Sure. Just to say that thank you very much. And it's great that the thinking is leaping forward on this. And if there is any value or opportunity for trustees to support or, through the channels with other boards and with the access to the minister, I can't speak for everybody, but certainly I would be happy to help in some fashion, and my colleagues may be as well. And we're really good at letter writing. Yeah.
Thank you for that support, Vice Chair L. Harrison.
Okay, so it is 10 o'clock, so I need to call for a motion to extend. May I please thank you, Trustee Shuttleworth, seconded by Trustee Oliver. Sorry, I can't see anybody on the screen otherwise, so thank you very much. Is there any discussion while we need to determine the amount of time? I know we need to go back into private session, and we have to, there's not a lot left on our public session agenda, so half an hour. It's all good? Okay. So if we end earlier than that would be fabulous. But okay, so is there any further discussion on half an hour? Seeing none, so all those.
Affirmative, Trustee Gray.
Affirmative, Trustee Gray.
Thank you to both of you. And that carries unanimously. Thank you very much. So we are going till 10:30. So I actually am the next speaker on the speakers list. So, oops. So my understanding, my understanding is that one of the benefits of our board choosing the modified semester system at the secondary level, which is a 1 week of 2 courses and the next week of the other 2 courses that usually make up a semester, was the ability to quickly pivot back to a 4 courses per day model. Our vaccination rates in Halton for 12 to 17-year-olds is actually exceptional. I was on the Halton Region site today, and for this age group, we have a 93% single and 87% fully vaccinated rate. And if you dig down even further, we have a very impressive municipality in Milton that sits at 98% single vaccination and 91% fully vaccinated. So the current modified semester model is not optimal. We've heard this from staff, not optimal for student achievement or student and staff well-being. And I'm asking staff if the Ministry of Education has provided criteria for boards to pivot back to the regular system. Director Ennis?
Thank you, Chair Gerbens. I would just say through you, to you, and the rest of the trustees, to the best of my knowledge, we have not received such direction as yet, but I'm going to ask Superintendent Blackwell if she would like to speak to this.
Sure. Thank you, Director Ennis. Through the chair, to the chair, we were provided the direction, obviously, to start the year with 2 courses per day. We are in conversation with our public health units and monitoring our data. We are also involved, we have board representation on a provincial COVID lead group, and that group meets fairly every second week. So that discussion has also been brought up to that table, given that we do have a month under our belt and we do have this very, very good data in terms of our secondary schools. So it is something that they are looking at, and we are hopeful to continue to have that dialogue as well.
Okay, thank you. I mean, the reality is that teenagers are congregating and mixing before and after school, as well as at lunchtime, sports and evening events, be it jobs, clubs, teams. We have seen almost no COVID transmission within the system in our high schools. Students would you agree that students would academically benefit from a return to the regular model, and would it support their well-being?
Through the chair, I'm going to ask Superintendent Blackwell to once again speak to that. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you. And through the chair, to the chair, I think that was always the premise of this this model that we've chosen, the modified semester model, in recognizing that we, as soon as we were given the green light to move into the semester model, and it wouldn't have to wait until February, obviously, we would be willing. We would like to do that, and again, the 4 courses in 1 semester, we know that that's important for students in terms of breadth of program and the balance of courses. So the sooner, I think that and as stated last year, that this is part of the reason that we would like to move there as soon as possible, both for academic and for social and emotional well-being as well.
And if I may just add through the chair, I believe that perhaps one of the cautious approach by the ministry is to look at all the different regions across the province and the vaccination rates and the transmission rates and all of the impacts of COVID in the various communities. And while we might be enjoying a particularly high rate of vaccination in many of our communities, I think they're trying to look at the big picture. But I certainly share your, not concern, but your desire. If we could get back to the semester system as quickly as possible for our students, I think it would be of great benefit.
I believe that a nudge on the political side, on the governance side, may be helpful, and also for helping our communities know that we are concerned about the academic achievement and well-being of our students. And so I would like to actually propose a motion to send a letter on behalf of the Board of Trustees to the Minister of Education to encourage the return of the regular 4-course per day semester model, looking at local as opposed to provincial criteria.
Seconded by Trustee Gray.
I will be passing the gavel to Vice Chair Harrison.
Okay. Well, thanks, Trustee Gray. You helped me out with my first order of business there. So we have a mover and a seconder. So that is on the floor for discussion. Trustee Oliver, go ahead.
Thank you, through you, Chair. I actually had received a number of emails from parents concerned that this was not, while they understood the reason behind this modified semester model, this was not, in fact, a desirable model for their students because of the sheer workload, I guess, and level of concentration that's required for each class per day. And particularly challenging for students with learning, various learning exceptionalities and ADHD. So I would be very supportive of sending this letter. Thank you.
Okay. Are there any other speakers, perhaps, that can't jump onto the list here in the conventional way? Okay. Seeing none, all those in favor?
Affirmative, Trustee Garretts.
Thank you.
Affirmative, Trustee Gray.
Thank you very much. I believe that carries unanimously. Okay. I will pass the gavel back. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Trustee Oliver, do you have any further? You're on the speakers list. I'll just. Okay. And Vice Chair Harrison? You're on the speakers list. Okay. So there are no other speakers on the speakers list. So we are up to public questions. To ask a question, please use the button on the live stream page. Pose questions during the live stream meetings of the Board of Trustees. May be answered during that meeting, particularly those related to the agenda items or at the following meeting at the discretion of the chair. For efficiency, multiple questions received that are similar in nature may be grouped together at the discretion of the chair and or vice chair. Questions will not be attributed. When necessary, a notation will be made that multiple people ask the same question. Any questions that contain language that is hateful or discriminatory will not be considered. Vice Chair Harrison, have we had any questions submitted this evening?
Hi, yes, Madam Chair, we have had 2 questions submitted.
Go right ahead.
Okay, question 1 was, why was my question from September 22nd meeting not included in the minutes with the answers provided in order to properly document and advise the public? And I can take a first jump at that. Just to say that in board meetings, we follow parliamentary procedures and specifically Robert's Rules of Order, which, according to Robert's Rules of Order, the minutes are a record of what was done rather than what was said. And that is, the minutes note there was a question and answer session and the questions were answered, rather than a recording of specifically who said what. So they're not a transcription. Thank you.
And just further to that, we do video voice record the meetings. So anybody is able to go back and actually investigate what those questions and answers were. Are there any other questions?
Sorry, yes, there were three, Madam Chair. The second question is a request for peer-reviewed research regarding mask wearing, which shows that it is positive rather than having negative effects on children.
Okay, well, I mean, I'm going to put it out there that we do not have to, we have to follow the ministry guidelines first and foremost, which has us masked, and we do not have an obligation to produce research supporting ministry guidelines. You are welcome to ask the Minister of Education through email or other means. Are there any more questions, Vice Chair Harrison?
No, they aren't, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. So we now need to go back into private session. So may I have a motion to do that from the ether? Oh, Trustee Shuttleworth, seconded by... thank you, Trustee Oliver. I can only see you guys. Okay, is there any discussion at all about going into private session? Seeing none. So all those in favor of heading into private session?
Affirmative, Trustee Garretts.
Thank you, Trustee Garretts.
Affirmative, Trustee Gray.
Thank you, Trustee Gray. And just looking for a vote from Trustee Rocha.
Affirmative as well.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Ending the vote. And that carries unanimously. Thank you very much. We are now in private session. Vice Chair Al Harrison, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I will take a couple of minutes to wind up the live stream and get situated. So it's, oh, what time is it here? 10:14. Maybe we'll come back at 10:17. Burlington Standard Time. Can you just do it? Yeah. So Kevin, we're offline, yeah? Okay.